Mother here with some insight from the old and busted, been around the block and back crew. Prepping or preparing for emergencies or disasters can be an important step to ensure your safety and well-being during unexpected events. Today I'm here to help you from making mistakes. Lots and lots of mistakes. The first step to avoid making these mistakes is knowing what they are. Whether you're new to prepping or have been around the block, these are some of the most common mistakes we tend to overlook before it's too late. Number one, not having a plan. Prepping involves more than just having the supplies. It's important to have a plan in place for various scenarios such as natural disasters or power outages. Prepping is a family affair, and everyone in your household should be aware of your plans and how to access your supplies. Make sure to go over emergency plans with your family, including evacuation routes and meeting places. When X happens, what do I grab? Where will we go? If we're split up, where do we meet at? Number two, failing to practice your plans. Simply having a plan in place isn't enough. Your emergency plans are only effective if you know how to implement them. It's important to practice your emergency plans with your family so everyone knows what to do in a crisis and are prepared. Power's out, water pressure is non-existent. Does everyone know how to take a rag bath? Does everyone know if it's brown, flush it down, or if it's yellow, let it mellow? You also don't want someone breaking into your house and have Granny wandering around in the dark saying, "Who's there?" while you're gun up looking for the threat. Next, failing to adapt your plans. Emergency situations are unpredictable, and it's important to be able to adapt your plans as needed. Make sure to regularly review and update your emergency plans based on changing circumstances. These circumstances can be as simple as a few more relatives showing up at your house more than expected. Learn to be flexible and adaptable to changing situations. Focusing too much on one location. While it's important to have a safe location for sheltering in place, it's also important to have a backup plan in case your primary location becomes compromised. Make sure to have alternative locations prioritized in your plan. If not, have your mindset that the situation will end where you're at and have a plan for that if it comes to that. Focusing only on one type of disaster. While it's important to prepare for specific types of disasters, like hurricanes, floods, fires, and earthquakes, it's also important to be prepared for a range of emergencies. Make sure to have a well-rounded emergency plan that takes into account a variety of potential disasters. Rate them by probability in your area. If you're not living in a floodplain, drop that down on your list. If your area routinely has hurricanes, Florida, that goes way up on your list. Failing to stockpile enough food. Having a stockpile of non-perishable food can be critical for survival during an emergency situation. Make sure to have enough food stored to last for several weeks, and make sure to rotate out old supplies to ensure freshness. A month of food, more is better. Not having enough water. Water is essential for survival, and it's important to have enough water stored for drinking, cooking, and hygiene. Make sure to have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day stored for emergency situations, and that's just for drinking. 1 gallon per day per person is the bare minimum. Work to have 3 gallons per person per day if you want to cook and wash your backside. Not rotating supplies. If you're not rotating your supplies, you risk them going bad or becoming unusable. Make sure to check the expiration dates and regularly rotate out old supplies for fresh ones. Every time I get new preps into my house, I use a Sharpie pen and mark them with the dates they came. Rotate, rotate, rotate. And if you're not using it or eating it, why did you buy it in the first place? Overbuying. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of prepping and buy too much of everything. While it's important to have enough supplies to last through an emergency, buying too much can lead to waste, clutter, and unnecessary expenses. I myself found preps piling up. I had to balance where I stored them. Start with a realistic plan and gradually build up your supplies over time. Failure to inventory. A list, spreadsheet, thumbtacked pages, or a notebook of your preps by location can save you and your family precious time when looking for specific items. Make sure your family knows where your list, spreadsheet, or notebook resides. Focusing on the wrong things. While having a stockpile of food and water is important, it's not the only thing you need to consider when prepping. It's essential to also think about things like first aid, shelter, communication, and self-defense. Make a comprehensive list of what you'll need in a variety of emergency situations. Constantly look over your list, update it, and modify it as you progress. Not preparing for long-term emergencies or survival. While many emergency situations may be short-term, it's important to prepare for long-term emergencies as well. Emergency situations can last for weeks, months, or even longer. Make sure to have a plan for long-term survival, including food production and water management. This may include things like creating a sustainable food source or developing skills for living off the land. Got a garden? Got chickens? Livestock? Look over your prepping plan and in a no baloney assessment, how long can you last? Then incrementally increase your needs for a longer duration. Ignoring the importance of hygiene and sanitation. In an emergency situation, good hygiene and sanitation control can be critical for preventing the spread of illness and disease. Make sure to have supplies for hand washing, waste disposal, and personal hygiene. You do not want to have Pigpen fixing the meals you're going to eat. Not having a backup plan for water filtration. In a prolonged emergency situation, your stored water supply may run out. Make sure to have backup plans for water filtration, like a portable water filter or a rainwater collection system. Relying too heavily on technology. While technology can be helpful in an emergency situation, it's important to have backup plans in case of power outages or other technological failures. Make sure to have non-electronic alternatives for important items, such as maps or communication tools, generators for power, and stored water for when the taps are a no-go. Ignoring skills. Stockpiling supplies is only a part of prepping. It's also important to learn basic survival skills like how to start a fire, purify water, navigate without a compass, how to hunt, and hit what you're aiming at. How to take apart, clean, and reassemble your primary defense mechanism. Make sure to invest time in learning these skills so you're not solely reliable on your supplies. Overemphasizing the importance of gear. While having the right gear is important, it's not the only factor in survival. Make sure to prioritize skills and knowledge like first aid, navigation, self-defense, in addition to gear. Don't buy an item and toss it in the closet without knowing how to use it and how to take it apart and put it back together. Get proficient with it. And when you get new gear, drive it like you stole it. See if it's durable. Learn to use it and how it works until you're as familiar with it as making yourself a bowl of cereal in the morning. Neglecting physical fitness. In an emergency situation, physical fitness can be important for survival. As we get older, do the best you can. Being able to walk long distances, lift heavy objects, and navigate difficult terrain can all be essential skills. Make sure to prioritize physical fitness in your prepping efforts. This gets more challenging as you age. Understanding the need for security. In an emergency situation, security can become a major concern. Think for a moment. The power is down. Are the phones working? Oh yeah, security just went way up on the list, huh? It's important to have a plan in place to protect your family and your supplies. This may include investing in a security system or learning self-defense skills, or investing in the right self-defense tool. Failing to maintain situational awareness. In an emergency situation, it's important to stay aware of your surroundings and be alert for potential dangers. Anymore, it's important to maintain your awareness when going in and out of the Walmart parking lot. That can be a nightmare. Make sure to have a plan for monitoring news and updates of your area. Being too isolated. While it's important to have a stockpile of supplies, being too isolated can be dangerous in an emergency situation. Make sure to develop relationships with neighbors and community members so you can work together during a crisis. Forgetting about mental health. Prepping can be stressful, and it's important to prioritize mental health. Make sure to have activities or coping mechanisms in place to deal with the anxiety of emergency situations. Imagine your children in a week-long power outage with no internet, no TV, and no Instagram. It's not hard for me because that's how I grew up. I lived it. Or better yet, I dare you to turn those off in your house for a week. Get ready to rumble. Would your youngins be bouncing off the walls? Make sure to have resources available for dealing with stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues. This may include having a mental health professional on standby or developing coping strategies for stress and anxiety. Not considering the specific needs of your family. Every family has different needs, and it's important to consider those needs when prepping. Children and elderly family members may have specific needs during an emergency situation, like a special medications or mobility aids. Who in your family needs what medications? Who has a food allergy? Who is susceptible to flea bites? Who is allergic to bee stings? These may also include things like dietary restrictions or special equipment for family members with disabilities. Not having a way to communicate. Communication can be essential during an emergency situation, both for staying informed about the situation and for staying in touch with loved ones. Make sure to have a way to communicate, like a two-way radio or satellite phone, in case of power outages or other disruptions. And it's important to stay informed about the situation outside your immediate area. So make sure to have a way to receive news and updates with a radio. Store plenty of batteries for these radios and phones. Also consider having an old-style rotary phone. It'll work when power is out and all the new-style phones quit working. Then show your children how that rotary phone works. I know that's funny, but you'd be surprised. Not having a backup for important documents. Important documents like birth certificates and insurance policies can be easily lost or damaged in an emergency situation. Having a copy stored in a safe location is easy peasy compared to chasing down new documents. Make sure to have a backup copy of important documents stored in a safe place. Ignoring the importance of physical security. In an emergency situation, physical security can be critical for protecting yourself and your supplies. Make sure to have a plan for securing your home or shelter, including locks, barriers, dogs, and other security measures. Not having enough cash on hand. In an emergency situation, cash may be king. Make sure to have enough cash on hand to cover expenses in case of power outages or other disruptions to banking systems. If the power is out in your town, your debit card is a no-can-do at most places that remain open. By avoiding these mistakes and taking a well-rounded approach to prepping, you can better prepare yourself and your family for any emergency situation that may arise. Drop a comment below with your best mistakes made on your prepping journey, or add to what I have covered here. Did I miss something? Drop that comment below with a like. Until next time, I have miles to go before I sleep.